hey, I recognize you. You're that guy, right?
I may be that guy. What guy are you referring to? You're gonna have to be more specific.
You know, you do videos where you stand on stage and give inspiring speeches about how life is just like Tetris, or how you need to be like Winnie the Pooh and find your honey.
Oh, yes. That's me. I am indeed renowned self-help guru Leonardo Villanova.
I knew it. Wow, that really is amazing. Say, do you have any good advice as to how I could get my life together?
You got $500?
I do not.
Then you'll just have to make do with my videos.
Do you know who this guy is? He's a world-famous public speaker. Can you believe he's just here at this thing with us?
Okay. Thank you for coming, everyone. Now that you've had a chance to settle in, I suppose you're all wondering why we brought you here. Am I correct? Well, each of you have something in common. Every one of you has committed and gotten away with murder. I should have meant that, actually. All but one of you are at-large murderers. And tonight, we're going to play a game. Each of you is going to tell the story of when and how you took a human life. After which, you'll be given 30 minutes to discuss among yourselves to try to figure out who is being untruthful and is not, in fact, the killer. After which, you will make a unanimous declaration as to who you believe the impostor to be. If you guess correctly, all the evidence linking you to your crime will be destroyed, and you'll go free. But if you guess wrong, the evidence will be given to the authorities. Oh, and the person who is not a killer is going to try to convince you all that they are. They're playing against the rest of you because they believe you should face justice. Was that clear from the start, or did I need to say it? Anyway, you may begin.
Okay. So this is some sort of role play. We're all just gonna make up stories. Nobody here killed anybody. That would be absurd. Wouldn't even make any sense.
Oh no, Jerry Hastings. This is all very real. We've been tracking all of you for over a year, and we know everything. Would you like to tell us what happened outside the bowling alley back in 2007?
What do you know about that? You don't know anything about that.
Well, then why don't you sit down and tell us about it? Honestly.
Okay. I guess we're really doing this, huh? Well, there was a bowling tournament my son was participating in. It was a fundraiser for his school. And, yeah, he was doing great. And right in the clutch, he rolls the winning strike. Or at least it would have been if Stan Barducci wasn't refereeing the whole thing. And he took the strike away from him based on some technicality. And, man, I was so mad. I was freaking furious. And after the whole thing was over, I found him outside having a smoke. I figured I'd give him a piece of my mind. He'd earned it. Tell him I didn't really appreciate what he'd done to my son. I was so pissed off, I started roughing him up a little bit. I guess I got carried away, maybe, and all of a sudden he banged his head on a pipe, and he just started bleeding everywhere. I panicked and threw him in a dumpster. When they found his body, they just assumed it was gang violence. I lived in Portland at the time, and that was a problem up there. No one ever questioned me about it. I just went on with my life.
Thank you for sharing, Jerry. Hopefully the rest of you will now feel more comfortable telling us about your misdeeds. Okay, well, let's see who else is here. Belinda Trundle, would you like to tell us your story?
Well, okay, fine, if you insist. I had the nicest mailman. You know, it was in one of those neighborhoods where the mailman walks around the neighborhood and delivers mail door to door. We'd have a conversation every day when he came by. Eventually, I started baking brownies for him on Fridays. It really seemed like we had a connection that was extra special, if you know what I mean. But then I talked to my neighbor Harriet, my neighbor Yolanda, my neighbor Elaine, and my other neighbor Elaine. And guess what? It turned out the mailman was chatting up a storm with them, too, every day. And they were giving him free baked goods as well. The man was an absolute philanderer. Well, I took care of that. That week's brownies had a little something extra in them. The poison didn't hit him until well after he got home that night, and the autopsy concluded he had just died of a heart attack. I kind of miss him now. All the mailmen I've had since then have been boring and antisocial.
Isn't it funny how those things work out?
I reckon I'll go next. Might just as well get this thing over with.
Well, certainly. You're Sam Rockford, correct?
Correct. So, here's my deal. I used to be part of a group that did Wild West reenactments. We called ourselves the Cowboy Club. We were very particular about historical accuracy, so we always used authentic period-accurate guns that were fully loaded. To be clear, this was all perfectly legal. We took every precaution we could, but after one too many serious injuries that sent people to the hospital, our leadership decided to shut the Cowboy Club down. The night before we had to turn in our guns, badges, and hats, a few of us went out for one last ride. We tried to be careful, but it was just so dark and we refused to use any electric lights. So I accidentally shot my friend Paul in the face. Well, none of us was sure what to do, so we mutilated his body a bit more so we could pass it off as a bear attack. So the Cowboy Club never rode again.
I'm sorry to hear that. Well, let's move on to the next person. I believe we all know who you are. So, famed motivational speaker and self-help entrepreneur Leonardo Villanova, what's your dark secret?
Okay, look, I know this is kind of ruining the game and all, but as it turns out, I am the person in the room who is not a murderer. There, you got me.
Oh no, that's not how this works. No cop-outs. Come on. All our other guests have put their dirty laundry out there. Why not show us yours?
Fine. Well, I, as you know, am renowned self-help guru Leonardo Villanova.
Right. We've established that multiple times now.
Yes. And in addition to my various speaking engagements and video series, I'll occasionally sit down with clients for one-on-one counseling sessions. These appointments are not cheap. I generally charge in the 4-figure range, but from time to time I'll have people who don't have the funds but are just so desperate to talk to me that they'll agree to pretty much anything and, sign contracts without reading them first. I invite them into my house, let them yammer on about whatever banal problems they're dealing with, give them some generic advice, and then take them downstairs to see my basement. And then, torture them. Burn them, dismember them, cut their skin off, gouge out their eyes, that sort of thing. I never do it the same way twice. I always like to shake things up a little. Needless to say, it always ends with them dead. Now, just so we're clear, I've done this to women and men. A couple non-binary people, too. I'm not one of those weird creeps who exclusively targets one gender.
How many people have you killed?
I don't know. 30, 40. I stopped keeping track a few years ago. But I only do it to people who have so few loved ones that hardly anyone will go looking for them. And I'm rich enough that I've generally been able to cover my tracks. But somehow I must have slipped up.
Right. Fascinating. Well, we only have one participant left. Amelia Stickley, what exactly is your deal?
Once upon a time, I had a husband. He was okay as far as husbands went. Had a decent paying job, took care of me but supported my own career goals, helped out around the house, got me a cat. Some might say I had the perfect life, but there was one problem. One major problem. He insisted on sleeping with a white noise machine set to a rainforest ambiance where this weird monkey would go every 12 minutes and 37 seconds. And he needed to play it every night, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. At first, I tolerated it, managed to get some sleep here and there, but little by little, that monkey sound started getting to me, crawling right under my skin, to the point that it was keeping me awake all night. And then, one night, I just snapped. After I killed him, I got in the car and just drove. Moved to another state, changed my identity, tried to move on. But the truth is, I don't think I've ever been quite the same.
All right. We've now heard all 5 of each other's chilling tales, and you know the rules. 30 minutes to discuss who you believe is lying. Start now.
Well, one thing's for sure. Mr. Self-Help Billionaire here? Absolutely a mass murderer.
Oh, what makes you so sure of that?
Well, clearly you didn't even want to tell us a story, and then when you finally did, you didn't want us to believe it. So that's like the exact opposite of how you'd behave if you were the imposter.
I'm not sure that is...
Nope. He's got a good point.
And her? She definitely did it. You can't fake a 1,000-yard stare like that. That just leaves Brownie Lady and Cowboy Crew.
Cowboy Club.
Right, yeah. See, right here. I'm conflicted. You got this outrageous tale of Wild West cosplayers using real loaded weapons. Well, that seems a little irresponsible, doesn't it? Just so far-fetched it can't possibly be true. Or is it so ridiculous that it has to be true? I don't know.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts, Jerry. Anyone else?
Oh, what? Am I the only one who's going to play the game?
Well, I'm inclined to agree with Jerry. Leo Villanova pretty much gave himself away, even though I would really like to think that he's lying.
Okay. Why are you all so appalled by what I've done? It's been established that we have almost all killed people here.
Yeah, but you killed 10 times as many as the rest of us, repeatedly and intentionally.
And I also agree that Amelia here is so clearly haunted by what she did that, well, there can't be any question about her. And I know I poisoned my mailman, so that would mean our imposter has to be Sam the cowboy.
Sam, you seem to be our top suspect. Do you have a response?
I truly wish I was innocent, especially for Paul's sake. But the unfortunate truth is, everything I told you 100% happened. It was my story, that hard to believe. You folks need to get out of the city and visit Middle America more often. Or better yet, don't. Trust me, I moved for a reason.
So Sam, who in the room do you think is being untruthful?
I honestly don't know. All of the stories are so convincing. I'm starting to wonder if maybe everyone's telling the truth and this whole find a liar thing is a trick.
It isn't. Mr. Villanova, you're known for your keen intellect. What are you thinking right now?
Well, you know what? I don't care. What I want to know is, where did I go wrong? What did I overlook? I took every precaution when it came to covering my tracks, and yet somehow, here I am. Did my old gardener Felipe speak up after I fired him? But he never saw anything. Told him those bones he found came from a deer. Seriously, how did you find out that...
That's not what we're here to discuss. Amelia, once again, you're last in our circle. What are you thinking?
Just get me out of here.
We will, but only when the game is finished.
If this is a game, it's certainly not fun.
Oh, it's fun for me, and that's all that matters. So, carry on with your discussion.
Well, I don't have anything else to add.
Me neither. I'm really stumped.
Well, I've said my part.
May I remind you all that you still have 26 minutes and 30 seconds to continue your discussion. Don't forget, your final decision must be unanimous, and if you are wrong, those of you who are guilty will likely face charges.
Okay, you know what? I'm going to agree with the two of them and say that this guy's story about shooting his friend while playing cowboys is a bunch of BS.
That's the way I'm leaning.
And Belinda, your money's still on Sam?
No one has said anything to convince me otherwise.
So Amelia, it's up to you now. If you believe Sam to be the imposter as well, then we will have a consensus. Mine is Sam himself, of course, but he can't pick himself as per the rules of the game. So Amelia, what are you thinking? Do you believe Sam Rockford to be the one person in this room, other than myself, who has never taken a human life?
You're all mistaken. I definitely did it, but heck, I don't have a good guess as to who the real fake person is. So I guess I'm just going to have to pray for a short sentence.
Well, we have a unanimous decision. However, I'm going to go around the room one more time just to make sure that...
Enough! Quit dragging this out. Just tell us if we're right or not.
The conjecture has been made. So, will the person who's lying about their status as a murderer please stand up?
Surprise! It was me. Wow, you all really fell for that act? Oh, I'm so traumatized I can barely talk. I don't want anyone to look at me. That's all it took? Really? Oh, and come on, murdering my husband over a white noise machine?
Oh, come on, Amelia. You know things like that happen.
Apparently they do. But regardless, I am not a murderer. As a matter of fact, I'm a police detective, and I just recorded all of your confessions.
Sorry, folks. You lost the game.
You know what? I think we've all learned something from this experience that we can apply to our lives moving forward. Appearances can be deceiving. That's something we're all taught as children. Yet, how many times do we actually take those words to heart? How often do we, as the saying goes, judge a book by its cover? We all saw this twitchy mess of a woman and assumed that she had done some murderous shit. And yet, it was all an act, and she is in fact a perfectly well-adjusted individual. Likewise, prior to today, you all believed that I, famed motivational speaker Leonardo Villanova, was an upstanding citizen, a man of honor and virtue. And yet, as we now know, the reality is, I'm a dangerous psychopath.